Bill Nash ran Carmax for 9 years. Last November, the board fired him. The stock dropped from $89 to $30 in 12 months. America's largest used car retailer went into full crisis mode, and nobody saw it coming. Here's the part that should terrify you. While Carmax collapsed, Carvana's stock climbed 50% in the same period. Wall Street celebrated Carvana as the future. They punished Carmax for showing the truth in their financial reports. Carmax kept honest accounting records. Carvana sold risky loans to companies owned by the same family. One got destroyed, the other got rewarded. Carmax didn't fire Nash over one bad quarter. They fired him because the company refused to hide what was happening with loan defaults, inventory problems, and a used car market built on shaky credit. The question hanging over this whole mess is whether honesty can survive when everyone else is gaming the numbers. Richmond, Virginia, 1993. A used car dealership opened that looked nothing like a used car dealership. No salesman cornering you on the lot, no pressure, no hidden fees, clean cars with fixed prices, every scratch listed on a window sticker. Circuit City executives founded Carmax because they thought the used car business could work like consumer electronics retail. Show the customer everything. Charge one price. Let them decide. For families who'd been burned at traditional lots, the difference was obvious. Every car had a full inspection report posted on the window. The price was the price. You could negotiate with the wall if you wanted, but the number wasn't changing. In the 1990s, America, where used car salesmen were punchlines in stand-up comedy, Carmax felt revolutionary. Customers showed up. Parents sent their kids there for first cars because they knew nobody would rip them off. The company went public in 1997. Their annual reports talked about customer satisfaction scores as much as profit margins. Managers who tried shady deals got fired. The culture was clear from day one. By 2024, Carmax operated 220 locations with 25,000 employees. They'd become the measuring stick for everyone else in used car retail. For 3 decades, the model worked. Trust at scale, transparency enforced by data. A business built on the radical idea that you could make money without lying. Then the market changed, and everything that made Carmax different suddenly worked against them. Carmax wasn't really a car company. They were a data company that happened to sell cars. By the early 2000s, they'd spent hundreds of millions building systems that tracked every sale, every appraisal, every customer complaint, down to the smallest detail. Their pricing algorithm updated daily. Auction results from across the country fed into the system. Regional trends, competitor pricing, gas prices. A 2019 Ford F-150 in Phoenix cost exactly the same as an identical truck in Pittsburgh because the algorithm said so. No backroom deals, no manager discretion. The computer decided. Tech spending hit $200 million a year by 2016. Executives told investors that Carmax was a technology company competing in automotive retail. They built an omnichannel platform where customers browsed on phones, reserved cars online, completed financing digitally, and got vehicles delivered to their driveways. Every transaction fed back into the system. Customer ratings determined staff bonuses. Data analysts ran models predicting inventory needs 6 months out. Risk teams tracked loan performance in real time. The whole operation ran on algorithms designed to keep everything fair and profitable. Industry surveys in 2018 and 2019 ranked Carmax first for customer satisfaction. Wall Street loved the story, a data-driven company bringing transparency to a sketchy industry. The model seemed bulletproof. The system had one assumption baked into every line of code. Markets would stay relatively predictable, used car values would depreciate in steady patterns. Customers would behave according to historical data. Everything was optimized for stability. When COVID hit in 2020, the algorithms broke. Used car prices spiked 40% in months. Inventory vanished. Customers paid above sticker for cars that should have been discounted. The pricing models couldn't keep up with a market moving faster than data could track it. By late 2023, everything reversed. Prices fell, new car production recovered, inventory flooded back, interest rates climbed. The algorithms that protected Carmax for 20 years were reading signals that contradicted their entire training data set. The system was built to tell the truth in real time. Every car marked to current market value, every loan evaluated against live risk models, every loss recorded immediately. While competitors could smooth out volatility with creative accounting, Carmax's infrastructure forced them to show reality whether they wanted to or not. The data team saw trouble coming. Leadership had to decide whether to listen. Summer 2024. Carmax's internal dashboards turned red. The analytics team was staring at numbers that should have triggered immediate action. Cars sat on lots for 70 days on average, nearly double the normal time frame. Inventory piled up faster than it moved. The pricing algorithm kept overvaluing trade-ins and auction purchases. September 2024. A data analyst drafted an internal memo laying out the risk. If acquisition strategies didn't change immediately, Carmax would be sitting on hundreds of millions in depreciating inventory by year's end. The analysis showed the company paying an average of $1,400 more per vehicle than market conditions could support. The loan portfolio showed stress too. Nearly 40% of Carmax customers had subprime credit. Interest rates on those loans ran as high as 23%. Risk models predicted defaults would spike if the economy softened. Cleveland, Houston, and Atlanta were already seeing more delinquencies and repossessions. The analytics team did their job. The data was clear. Inside the Richmond headquarters, the response was quiet panic. Board meetings grew tense. Some executives pushed for immediate changes. Others argued Carmax's scale would let them weather any downturn better than smaller competitors. They doubled down on existing strategies, betting seasonal demand would clear inventory. Former employees who spoke anonymously described the internal culture shifting from confidence to anxiety almost overnight. Store managers got conflicting directions. Move inventory at any cost one day, protect margins the next. Morale surveys that leaked to the business press showed employee confidence at historic lows. Lenders started calling more frequently. Ally Bank and Capital One provided floor plan financing for Carmax's inventory. They pressed for tighter credit standards and higher reserves against loan losses. Each call ended with promises to review the models. No real action followed. By late 2024, the gap between what the data showed and what the boardroom did about it had become obvious to anyone paying attention. Carmax faced two bad options: admit the problem and tank the stock, or wait and hope the market turned. The board chose to wait. That gamble would cost Bill Nash his job. August 2025. Carmax's accountants faced spreadsheets that told a story nobody wanted to hear. Under accounting rules, they had to mark every vehicle in inventory to current market value. When prices had been rising, that rule worked in their favor. With prices falling, it became a weapon. The math is brutal. Carmax buys a 2022 Honda Accord for $27,000 in early 2024. That same car now wholesales for $22,000. The company records a $5,000 loss immediately. Not when they sell the car, not at the end of the quarter, right now. Multiply that across tens of thousands of vehicles. Carmax's Q2 fiscal 2026 earnings report, filed in September 2025, showed the damage. Loan loss provisions jumped to $142 million, up from $113 million the previous quarter. The allowance for loan losses reached $507 million, over 3% of the total loan portfolio. That money got set aside because Carmax expected a significant chunk of their subprime loans to default. These weren't abstract accounting moves. They were public admissions that thousands of cars were worth less than Carmax paid for them. Thousands of borrowers wouldn't pay back their loans. For a company built on data-driven decisions, the numbers were a confession that their models had failed. Wall Street reacted fast. The stock plunged below $30 by November 2025. In 1 year, Carmax lost nearly 60% of its market value. Over $4 billion in shareholder wealth vanished. The cruelest part. While Carmax had to show every loss in real time, competitors using different structures didn't face the same exposure. Carmax transparency had become a liability in a market rewarding companies for hiding bad news. Moody's and S&P downgraded Carmax's debt. The downgrades increased borrowing costs exactly when Carmax needed cheap capital to survive the crisis. Inside the finance department, there was no debate. The markdowns were mandatory. The reserves were required. Every quarter meant filing public reports with the SEC showing exactly how much pain the company was in. Carmax built a system to tell the truth. In a market built on illusions, the truth was killing them. Early November 2025, the pressure inside Carmax boardroom reached breaking point. Directors who'd stood behind Bill Nash through COVID and supply chain chaos were openly questioning whether he could lead through what looked like an existential crisis. Nash had been CEO since 2016. He'd steered Carmax through profitable years. But this was different. Not an external shock. A fundamental miscalculation about market direction. The board needed someone to blame. November 6, 2025. Carmax issued a press release. Bill Nash was stepping down as president and CEO, effective immediately. The board appointed David McCreight, the company's CFO, as interim CEO while they searched for permanent leadership. The statement thanked Nash for his service. No details about why he was leaving or what changed. Behind the scenes, the decision had been brewing for weeks. According to sources familiar with board discussions, several directors lost confidence Nash could execute the changes needed to stabilize the company. The stock collapse destroyed credibility with investors. The loan portfolio kept deteriorating. Inventory stayed bloated. Competitors were circling. Other senior executives quietly left in the months after Nash's departure. Marketing leadership, store operations. The exits created uncertainty when the organization desperately needed clear direction. For employees watching the chaos, the message was obvious. The company that preached stability and data-driven decisions was reacting in panic mode. Store managers reported getting conflicting directions almost daily. Cost-cutting measures announced, walked back, announced again. October 2025, Carmax laid off 350 corporate employees. Earlier that year, another 415 got let go. For a company proud of treating employees well, the layoffs shocked the culture. People who remained wondered if more cuts were coming. Wall Street analysts grew increasingly pessimistic. Research notes from Wedbush Securities and Barclays questioned whether anyone could save Carmax in its current form. The problems weren't just leadership, they were structural. The business model built for stable markets was breaking under volatility. Finding a replacement CEO proved difficult. Executive recruiters confirmed several high-profile candidates turned down the opportunity once they understood the challenge. Taking over Carmax meant inheriting declining sales, a stressed loan portfolio, inventory problems, and a stock in freefall. Few executives wanted to stake their reputation on what might be impossible. Interim CEO McCreight promised a full review of operations and strategy. Investors stayed skeptical. The board's scramble to restore confidence only deepened the sense nobody knew how to fix what was broken. While Carmax struggled with internal chaos, its biggest competitor posted numbers that seemed too good to be true. Carvana's stock climbed while Carmax collapsed. Same year, Carmax lost 58% of its value. Carvana gained over 50%. Wall Street celebrated Carvana as the future of used car retail. Digital-first model, impressive growth numbers. The analysts loved it. But look closer, and something doesn't add up. Carvana operates in the same market crushing Carmax. How are they originating risky subprime loans without showing the same stress in loan loss reserves? How are they staying profitable while competitors bleed? The Garcia family controls Carvana. They also control DriveTime and Bridgecrest. When Carvana originates auto loans, particularly risky subprime loans to borrowers with damaged credit, they don't keep all of them. They sell significant portions to DriveTime and Bridgecrest, companies owned by the same family. On paper, Carvana's loan portfolio looks healthier than reality. The riskiest loans disappear from their books, transferred to related parties at values that may not reflect true default risk. Revenue gets booked up front from loan sales. The risk shuffles to another pocket of the same empire. Garrett Nelson, an analyst at CFRA Research, wrote in a research note that Carvana's results are almost too good to be true. He suggested related party transactions deserve more scrutiny from investors and regulators. The concern is Carvana using financial engineering to create the appearance of profitability while credit risk stays hidden in affiliated entities. SEC filings show Carvana sold nearly $1 billion in loans to related parties in 2024 alone. The transactions get disclosed in footnotes. Details about pricing and terms stay limited. Critics argue this lets Carvana game reported earnings, while Carmax, keeping more loans on its own books, reports the full extent of credit deterioration. A former Carvana risk analyst spoke anonymously about the internal process. We'd package loans with questionable repayment prospects, but as long as they moved off Carvana's balance sheet, the numbers looked good. Nobody at the executive level wanted to talk about what happened to those loans after they sold. Related party transactions are legal. They're common in corporate America, but they create a question about which company tells the truth about the used car market. Carmax shows the pain in real time. Carvana's structure lets them hide it. Wall Street rewards the illusion and punishes the truth, for now. The real test comes when the economy softens further, or when the related party buyers can't absorb the losses anymore. When that happens, risk shuffled off balance sheet will come roaring back. Carvana gets to keep posting numbers that make Carmax honesty look like incompetence. Until it doesn't. John Matthews doesn't appear in earnings calls. He's a 44-year-old plumber from Indiana who bought a used Ford F-150 from Carmax in spring 2024. Sticker price was $34,500. John's credit wasn't great. Medical bills from surgery, late payments during a divorce, a repossessed Chevy he lost during COVID. Carmax finance arm approved him at 22.7% APR, monthly payment of $412 for 84 months. 7 years of payments for a used truck. John figured he could handle it. He was pulling decent overtime at the factory. He needed reliable transportation to get to job sites. Fall 2024. Overtime dried up. The factory cut back to 40-hour weeks as orders slowed. John's income dropped nearly $800 a month. He tried keeping up with the truck payment. Between rent, utilities, and groceries for 2 kids, something had to give. By summer 2025, he was 3 months behind. The repo truck arrived just before 6 a.m. on a Tuesday in August. John heard the engine outside, looked out to see his F-150 loading onto a flatbed. 10 minutes later, it was gone. So was his way to get to work. He called his boss to explain why he'd be late. 3 days later, he got fired for unreliable attendance. John's story isn't unique. Fitch ratings data shows subprime auto loan delinquencies jumped 27% year over year through 2025. Federal Reserve statistics put auto loan delinquencies at levels not seen in 15 years. Millions of Americans are one missed payment from losing the vehicles they need to earn a living. At Carmax specifically, nearly 40% of loans go to subprime borrowers, people with credit scores below 620, often carrying multiple debts with limited financial cushion. Interest rates they're charged, sometimes over 20%, reflect the risk. They also create a debt trap. Miss one payment and penalties pile up. Miss 3 and the repo truck shows up. Carmax's filings show the allowance for loan losses reached $507 million by August 2025. Over 3% of their loan portfolio, money set aside because Carmax expects tens of thousands of borrowers won't pay back their loans. Behind each percentage point is a family losing their car, their job, their ability to function in a country where reliable transportation isn't optional. Jonathan Smoke, chief economist at Cox Automotive, warned repeatedly that unchecked subprime lending represents the greatest risk to the used car market. In a recent industry presentation, he said we're creating a class of borrowers set up to fail from day one. The interest rates alone make it nearly impossible for someone with marginal income stability to keep up with payments. Analysts call Carmax the canary in the coal mine, the first major player admitting publicly how bad the subprime situation has become. For people like John, it's not about market signals or financial metaphors. It's about a tow truck driving away with the one thing standing between you and economic catastrophe. The $507 million Carmax set aside for loan losses isn't abstract accounting. It's thousands of destroyed credit scores, repossessed vehicles, and families trying to figure out how to rebuild after the system chewed them up. Millions more are teetering on the same edge. Carmax's problems didn't happen alone. Independent dealers across the country were drowning under inventory they never asked for, a practice called channel stuffing that's been standard in the automotive industry for decades. Here's how it works. Manufacturers like Ford and Stellantis produce vehicles based on production capacity and quarterly targets, not dealer demand. When cars roll off assembly lines, they get shipped to dealerships, whether dealers want them or not. Dealers take out floor plan loans, borrowing money to pay for inventory they haven't sold. In stable markets, the system works. Cars arrive, sell within 30 to 45 days, dealers pay off the floor plan loan. Everyone moves on. When markets slow and cars sit for 60, 90, or 120 days, those floor plan loans eat into profit margins. Every day a car sits unsold, the dealer owes more interest. By late 2024, average inventory at dealerships climbed to 1.8 months of supply. Levels not seen since before COVID. Independent dealers started sounding alarms. Manufacturers were stuffing inventory to hit quarterly production and sales targets while dealers got stuck with the financial burden. The National Independent Automobile Dealers Association began organizing. They collected stories of small-town dealers on the brink of bankruptcy. Some owners reported threats about losing franchise agreements if they refused shipments. Others described pressure to take vehicles they knew wouldn't sell in their markets, just so manufacturers could book the wholesale transaction as a sale. State attorneys general took notice. By early 2025, regulators in New York, Illinois, and California sent information requests to major manufacturers. They demanded data on inventory allocation practices, floor plan financing terms, and communications about managing dealer inventory levels. The investigations were preliminary. They signaled lawmakers questioning whether automakers manipulated sales data by flooding dealers with unsold cars. For dealers already struggling with slow sales and rising interest rates on floor plan loans, the added inventory was suffocating. Some started refusing shipments, risking franchise status. Others quietly negotiated with manufacturers to slow deliveries, threatening to go public if pressure didn't ease. Banks providing floor plan financing to dealers began tightening standards. Higher reserves, higher interest rates to compensate for default risk. Some smaller dealers lost access to floor plan credit entirely. They had to operate on consignment or shut down. The financial stress pushed down the chain from manufacturers to dealers to consumers, with Carmax serving as a visible example of what happens when a major player admits market truth. Everyone else had more incentive to hide problems and hope for a turnaround. The question regulators and observers ask now is simple. If dealers are forced to take inventory they can't sell, if consumers take loans they can't afford, if manufacturers report sales numbers that don't reflect demand, what happens when the system stops pretending everything is fine? Carmax might be the first domino. They're not the last. Bill Nash is gone. Interim leadership tries stabilizing a company in crisis. The question everyone asks is whether Carmax can survive in anything like its current form. The challenges connect to each other. Declining sales, stressed loan portfolio, bloated inventory, rising costs, a stock price that destroyed investor confidence. Several paths are possible. First is traditional turnaround. Carmax cuts costs aggressively, closes underperforming locations, tightens credit standards, rides out the downturn as a smaller but sustainable business. Some analysts believe this is most likely, though it means abandoning the growth story that made Carmax attractive to investors for 2 decades. Second scenario is acquisition. Several large automotive retail groups reportedly expressed interest in Carmax's store network and customer database. Companies like AutoNation, Lithia Motors, or Penske Automotive could absorb Carmax operations into existing dealer networks. This would let Carmax maintain some continuity while benefiting from stronger balance sheets and more diversified business models. Third possibility is complete business model transformation. Some observers suggest Carmax's most valuable assets aren't inventory or stores, but brand recognition and technology platform. They could pivot toward a marketplace model, connecting buyers and sellers without owning inventory. Similar to how Carvana started incorporating third-party listings alongside their own vehicles. What seems clear is the high inventory, data-intensive, transparency-first model that defined Carmax for 3 decades may not work in today's volatile market. The costs of maintaining massive inventory in a falling market are too high. The risks of honest accounting in an industry rewarding opacity are too great. For 25,000 people working at Carmax, the uncertainty is personal. Many joined specifically because of the company's reputation for integrity and customer focus. Watching that culture erode under financial pressure, seeing colleagues laid off, wondering if their own jobs survive, has changed what it means to work there. For millions of Americans who bought cars from Carmax over the years, the company's troubles raise uncomfortable questions about who to trust in an industry never known for trustworthiness. If the most transparent player can't survive, what does that say about everyone else? For the used car market as a whole, Carmax crisis is a warning the bill is coming due. Years of easy credit, inflated valuations, and deferred honesty are catching up with an industry running on borrowed time and borrowed money. Whatever happens to Carmax as a company, their impact on automotive retail is permanent. Before Carmax existed, buying a used car meant anxiety, pressure tactics, hidden fees, and constant worry about getting played. Carmax changed those expectations for an entire generation. The innovations they pioneered are now standards. No haggle pricing, detailed vehicle histories, comprehensive inspections, return policies giving customers breathing room. Even Carmax's competitors adopted these practices because customers came to expect them. The transparency Carmax fought for in the 1990s became the baseline everyone else had to meet. The tragic irony is Carmax may have won the cultural battle for how used cars should be sold, while proving honesty doesn't scale in a market-rewarding illusion. They showed transparency is possible. They couldn't prove it was sustainable when everyone else games the system. For consumers, the lesson is sobering. The company that treated you fairly, showed you the numbers, refused to hide bad news, got destroyed by a market punishing them for those virtues. Meanwhile, competitors using financial engineering and related party tricks to hide problems got rewarded with rising stock prices and analyst praise. The used car industry will survive Carmax's crisis. Cars will still be bought and sold. Loans will still be written. The question that should haunt everyone watching is simple. In a market where lying pays better than telling the truth, who can you trust? Carmax built a business on the idea that honesty could be profitable. For 30 years it worked. Now, as the company fights for survival, the real story isn't one CEO getting fired or one stock crashing. It's an economic system punishing transparency and rewarding deception. The collapse of Carmax isn't just corporate failure. It's a mirror held up to an industry, maybe an entire economy, that learned to prefer comfortable lies over uncomfortable truths. When the illusions finally break, when Carvana's shell games stop working, when dealers can't hide their inventory crisis, the reckoning won't just cost billions. It'll cost something more valuable. The last remaining shred of trust holding the system together. So here's the question you need to ask yourself. If the most honest player in the used car business can get destroyed for refusing to lie, what does that mean the next time you walk onto a lot looking to buy? Who can you actually trust when the system rewards the liars? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you want to see more investigations into how these industries really work behind the glossy marketing, hit that subscribe button. Because the next domino is already starting to fall, and you're going to want to know about it before it's too late.